Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Final Four edition of the Cover Four podcast here on this Tuesday evening. I'm Jim Trickett, along with my partner out in Provo, Utah, the president and CEO of RDD Communications, Randy Gibson. And like I said, Final Four is upon us, both on the men's side and on the women's side.
It sure is, and kind of as always, which is always what makes March Madness fun. Some
Yes.
surprises going on. Start out with the men. What about your Alabama Crimson Tide taking on number one UConn?
I'll tell you right now, UConn could have their hands full because Alabama, they score a lot of points. They've scored 109 in the tournament in a ball game. They beat North Carolina 89-87 to get into the Elite Eight. Then they defeated Clemson 89-82 to go out to Phoenix. It's the first time that the Crimson Tide have ever played in the Final Four. So you got to give Nate Oates a lot of credit that the Tide, they like to put a lot of points on the board, and it's going to be very interesting to see what Dan Hurley tries to do to stop them from possibly getting 90 or 100.
It will. I think that's going to be the fun game of Saturday, in my opinion. That's the one that's going to be the game to watch.
Yeah, that's going to be the second game of the night. The first game, it'll be at 5:09 our time, so 4:09 there in Provo, 3:09 at the Big Toaster, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, because Arizona does not do daylight savings time. It'll be Purdue against the surprise team of the tournament, the North Carolina State Wolfpack. And
North Carolina State, how about beating Duke, number 4 seed Duke, 76-64. They kind of had a good handle on that game.
Well, they beat them in the championship game of the ACC tournament. Yep. So here's the thing with them. They've won 9 straight. They went and won 5 in a row in the ACC tournament. They had to play the Tuesday game. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 5 games in 5 days for the Wolfpack. And this is the first time in 41 years that NC State is in the Final Four. And can you say the ghost of Jim Valvano may be back?
Could be. I will tell you, what would be fun for me would be to see North Carolina State versus Bama. The first time. Yeah. But, of course, as you know, I think Purdue's going to go all the way. But it would be fun. It would be fun to see them upset the number 1 seed Purdue. But, golly, Purdue, they handled Tennessee, who was the number 2 seed, pretty good too, 72-66. So
yeah, they did a job on Rick Barnes Ball Club and stopped Dalton Connect and Adu and the rest of the Tennessee Volunteers as they won that one. They get to play the team that was the number 11 seed. They would not have made the tournament because they lost 14 ball games during the regular season and now have ran off 9 in a row to get to this point. 5 in the ACC tournament and 4 to get to the Final Four. And like I say, that'll be the first game of the day. And then Alabama takes on UConn, one of 2 schools that have both the men and the women in the Final Four.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah,
That's really saying something there.
yeah. UConn and North Carolina State both have their men's and women's teams in the Final Four, and we'll touch on the women here in just a minute. But Alabama and UConn, second game of the night. I don't think that UConn wants to get into a track meet with these guys because
No,
they can put a lot of points on the board. Uh, they beat Illinois and former OSU head coach Brad Underwood 77-52. They had a 30-0 run in that ball game.
wow.
And that's what put the ball game away. It was close for a half, and then UConn just put the clamps on the Illini, and they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the second half, and they wind up beating them 25. UConn beat San Diego State by 30 in the Sweet 16. So it's going to be a tough task for Alabama, mainly because they want to run. That's the big thing. They want to run, score a bunch of points, but the defense of UConn has been good. I mean, they allow 52 points the last two ball games, each game. So I think Monday night we see UConn and Purdue in the finals, in the final game.
That's kind of my that's my prediction too. I, of course, like we said before, I think Purdue. I picked them to go all the way. So, yeah,
I've got one bracket with UConn, and then I've got another bracket with Purdue, and the maximum points I can get is 1,350. I've got 710 in the bracket where Purdue's at, winning it. That's the one I've got to have the most points, and then I've got 720 on the one with UConn winning it, but the most I can get is 1,200 because I don't have anybody in the first game. I had Houston there, and then I have UConn and Alabama correctly picked, but UConn winning the game, and then UConn was going to beat Houston in the final. That was my other bracket that's still alive. So, but that's going to be interesting to see what happens come Saturday. Then on Sunday, then this will be what'll be really interesting. Will be the first game of the night in Cleveland, South Carolina against NC State's women, and that will be one that, let's face it, South Carolina has had some difficulty the last couple of ball games and has been close. They beat Oregon State 70-58 to get there, but NC State upended Texas.
Which was a big surprise. Yeah, beat them by 10.
Beat them by 10. And also, okay, they played that in Portland. That's where they had the screw up with the court.
Right.
And Vic Schaefer talked about it after the ball game. And a lot of people, and he said, a lot of people are going to say it would happen in a women's game, where the court was not, one end was correct on the 3-point line and the other one wasn't. And he said, yeah, I had nothing to do with it. You can't blame me on this one. And that's a lot of egg on not only the NCAA, but on Connor Sports, who's the supplier of the basketball courts.
Right.
Where every regional and the Final Four. Now, here's the thing about the court at the Final Four is that the winning team gets that thing. They get the court and they can do whatever they want with it. They can either some of them will cut the floor up and sell that as a fundraiser for the athletic department, or they will sand the floor and that'll be their brand new court next year because they're only going to play 3 games on it. Example, I know of 2 places that have bought those courts at regionals. One of them is Northeastern. The court there at the event center is from NRG Stadium.
Oh, really? They're in Tahlequah?
Yeah, the court there at the event center, they got that several years ago from a regional that was down there, and the Muskogee Civic Center bought one of those courts. So if Tulsa gets another regional, and they've only got like 2 more years that they know where, or 3 more years where they know where the regionals and the Final Four are going to be. And so the next time period for bids for a regional will be coming up here pretty soon. And University of Tulsa and the Tulsa Sports Authority will probably try to get a bid to host first and second round at the BOK Center. The last thing that they hosted, that the Tulsa Sports Commission hosted with the NCAA, they teamed up with OSU and hosted the NCAA Wrestling Championships last year. So that's coming up here in the next, I'd say probably the next 12 to 18 months that bids will start going into the NCAA to see who wants to do first and second rounds, and also for the bigger cities with bigger arenas, who wants to host the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. So the other game, as far as the women are concerned, UConn against Iowa, and another superstar matchup.
Yep.
Caitlin Clark, this time against Paige Beckers of UConn, who missed last year because she blew an ACL out. And she also got hurt the year before and missed 19 games due to a knee injury. So she's been out for about a year and a half, but she's been playing well. But good grief, Caitlin Clark has been putting on a show, and she did that.
Yeah, she
last
did.
night. You know, the 41 points against LSU, and Kim Mulkey was happy. She was talking about it in the press conference. She told her, she said, "I'm so glad that you're gone. You're gone because you are something else."
Yeah, that was quite a game between Iowa and LSU, and 2 superstars going against one another.
Yep.
Talked a little bit about that with somebody today. Now, you may know this. There was always some kind of poking back and forth between those 2 girls, but somebody today told me that they thought that in reality that they knew one another pretty well and were friends, and that's why they do that.
Yes. Now they're talking about a mock draft with WNBA. I was looking at it this afternoon, which Clark's going to be the number 1 pick and go to Indiana. And they got Reese number 7 in the in the mock draft.
Really?
I'm not really sure where she was going, but there was 5 other girls that were ahead of her. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think it's South Carolina and Iowa, I think, in that one that'll be played on Tuesday night because they play Sunday and Tuesday. They play the day that the 2 teams that are in the national championship game for the men practice, and then they have it all to themselves on Tuesday night, and they play that game in Cleveland, which is home of the Cleveland Cavaliers. That'll be the host site of this year's Division One women's national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So be very interesting to see what happens.
Very interesting. It's going to be another fun weekend, as it always is.
Oh yeah. On the coaching front, the white plume of smoke went up at Oklahoma State, and they have hired Steve Lutz, who got his head coaching start not too long ago, about 4 years ago, at Texas Corpus Christi, and took the Islanders from being a 5-win ball club before he got there to an NCAA tournament bid, then left there, spent 1 year at Western Kentucky, took them to the NCAA tournament, and now is heading to Stillwater. So it'll be interesting to see how much he gets if Chad Weiberg releases that, which they probably will have to, because I'm pretty sure either the Oklahoman or the World's going to have a Freedom of Information Act request. You know, that's something that they can do to get the find out how much money they can make. So how much they will make, but they're thinking, possibly $3 million a year for him to coach the Cowboys. It'll be interesting to see who he keeps. Does he keep Keaton Page on the staff? Does he keep Scott Sutton on the staff? It'll be interesting.
That's the one I was wondering about. Do you think he'll keep him on?
If he's wise, he keeps both of them.
Yeah, I agree.
And they know the lay of the land too, and he does too.
They do.
He's from Texas, so he knows what's going on. Then there was another movement, and could affect the school 60 miles to the east of me. USC's head coach, Andy Enfield, resigned as head coach of the Trojans and landed yesterday in Dallas and is now the new head coach of the SMU Mustangs.
I had not, of course, I've been out for today and I had not heard the news. I had not heard that yet.
Yep. So he is now head coach of the Mustangs. And I know the guy. A few years ago, we had the NCAA tournament in Tulsa, where I was a locker room steward. And USC was one of the teams there. And they were the team I got to be their locker room steward for 2 games. This was the year that they had to play on Wednesday night in the first 4 in Dayton. They won it. They had to do the drug test. Didn't get into Tulsa till about 3 or 3:30 in the morning, Thursday morning. Then had their 1 hour shoot around, and that's all it was. I mean, they didn't even practice. I mean, all they did was shoot and get used to the goals there at the BOK.
Mm-hmm.
They won. They beat, I forgot who they beat in the Friday game, but then they played Sunday against Baylor, and Baylor beat them. And Baylor wound up getting to go to Madison Square Garden, or USC would have went back to LA and then hopped a plane and flew all the way to New York. And it kind of funny about Andy was what he drank at the bench. Well, they have strict rules. The cups have to be the March Madness cups, water cups that they have on the benches.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he didn't want to drink water. He wanted to have a cup of coffee. Well, he come up to me on Friday. He said, can you get me some coffee? I said, yeah, because I'm going to take it out on the court. I said, okay, how you like it? He said, I'll black. I said, okay. So I went to the media room, got him a cup of coffee in an insulated cup. Well, before I gave it to him, I got one of the March Madness cups that we had to have and put the cup of coffee into the March Madness cup. So it was 2 cups in there. And I told him, I said, hey, you got to have that March Madness cup out there on the floor, but there's coffee in there and it's in an insulated cup. He said, okay, good. And so we did that not only Friday, but we did it Sunday as well.
Yeah.
And his on Sunday, his daughter, one of his daughters, came back to the locker room area after the ball game, and she was wearing one of the USC Song Girl sweaters at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so both of them now, they're in high school at least, and his son is probably a 7th or 8th grader now. So they all 3 of them came off the plane along with his wife, who is from Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And she's a model. And so I think she was pretty happy that she's going to get closer to home. That
I bet. I bet.
played in Dallas and then get to play TU because that's in their conference. So, and then because of that move, Eric Musselman, head coach of the Razorbacks, just put out just a little while ago, he is going to interview for the USC job.
Oh, really?
He is from California. He lived in the San Diego area. His dad, Bill Musselman, is he was a former NBA coach and coached in San Diego back when it was the San Diego Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
And so Eric, very familiar with that area. I think he's just doing that as a, kind of check and see what's going on. He's still recruiting for Arkansas right now, but could he look at taking this job? They'd have to offer him quite a bit, because let's face it, the cost of living in LA is a whole lot different than Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Oh, tons. Not even. Yeah. Yeah, tons different.
And he was mentioned for the job at Louisville and also that SMU job, but did not get either one of them. So I don't know what what they're doing or anything like that. Then there was another coaching change, but this was on the women's side. Is the Lady Vols of Tennessee made a change as they let Kelly Harper go, who had been there for 5 years and played for Pat Summitt, just like Holly Warlick did, who coached there for 7 years, who had to follow in the footsteps of Pat and Pat Summitt. And so she had a 675 winning percentage.
Wow.
But the Lady Vols had not made it past the Sweet 16 in the 5 years she was the head coach.
Wow.
So Danny White, the athletic director at Tennessee, pulled the trigger, probably with the help of some high-paying boosters, to give Kelly Harper her marching orders. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Who could be the next coach on Rocky Top? And that's let's face it, those are still huge shoes to fill of Pat Summitt. And it hadn't been.
Yeah. Massive.
Yes. So Tennessee is not liking that South Carolina and LSU are the two kingpins right now in women's basketball. So, and they're used to putting as much as the men inside Thompson Bowling Arena there in Knoxville, and they haven't been doing that. So, and that's a big arena there in Knoxville. So we'll see what happens there with Kelly Harper now available, and with as bad the season was for the Razorbacks, could Hunter Yurachek think about making a change in the women's program? I don't know. I think Mike Neighbors is still safe, but he's going to have to improve next year, and he's going to have to fill a lot of holes because he's got leading scorer and point guard, leading rebounder, both in the portal. Both of them are not going to be back. Had a few girls graduate too, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in Fayetteville, not only on the women's side but the men's side. I think Muss will stay because I think he wants to straighten up what happened this last year. That's my thought, anyway.
Probably so. Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. I think. And definitely lots of coaching changes going on right now.
Very much so. Talking about Arkansas, talk about baseball. They beat LSU 3 times this past weekend. One of them was a walk-off in the 10th on Friday night. And then they won 7-4 on Thursday night with Hagen Smith striking out 10. Mason Molina didn't get the win, but struck out 7. But they got an RBI double in the bottom of the 10th. It was an unearned run because there was an error by the shortstop for LSU, and a shot down the left field line by Hudson White drove the winning run in. And Arkansas won 4-3 and then beat the Tigers 7-5. And right now they're playing Arkansas State at Baum Walker. And looking here, getting the live stats pulled up. This one's going to be done momentarily. They're in the bottom of the sixth, and Arkansas leads 13-0 over the, I still call them the Indians, but they're now the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. The Hogs hit them for a 9 spot in the third, which included a grand slam. And that's the 5th grand slam homer that Arkansas's hit this year. So still ranked unanimous number 1, and they've got an appointment in Oxford on Thursday night. Excuse me. Is they take on the Ole Miss Rebels. And they'll see if they can keep that number 1 ranking. Arkansas softball went down to Athens and took 2 out of 3 from the number 3 team in the country. They beat them last night 8-2 and had a grand slam in that game as well to break that game open. And now they take on number 11 Missouri Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a game that I'll be working on Friday at 5 and then at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And both those games on the SEC network I'm doing talent stats and stage managing for those 2 ball games. So yeah, that'll be some fun. Get to see a Tahlequah guy. Jeff Cottrell is the hitting coach for the Missouri Tigers, 2nd year on the job in Columbia. So I'll get to hopefully give him a little verbal abuse.
That'd be fun.
The ball game. So be good to see him. I haven't seen him in quite a while. So
baseball, just as we're doing this podcast, just going back, Oklahoma taking on Wichita State, top of the 6th as we speak. Oklahoma's ahead 4-1 at the moment, but they got a big weekend coming up as they travel north to Stillwater, taking on OSU.
And OSU took 2 of 3 from Texas. So
OSU's always been good in baseball. So it's a rivalry in every sport, but of course, football and basketball, of course, huge, but so is baseball and softball.
Let me see what's going on at Northeastern as they took 2 out of 3 from the number 24 team in the country, Pitt State, down here at Rousey Field over the weekend. As it pulls up here, they give my phone a little time to catch up here with they got beat in game 1 on Thursday, 17-4 in 7 innings, then beat the Gorillas 10-9 and 10, and then beat them 10-8 on Saturday. So took 2 out of 3. They're at 500 right now. They are supposed to be playing at OBU, and they are. It is tied in the top of the 6th at 5-5, playing in Shawnee right now in a non-conference game, and they will play 3 against Rogers State beginning Friday at 3 in Claremore. Then they come here and play a 3 o'clock game on Saturday at Rousey Field, and then back at 2 o'clock to Claremore on Sunday. So they play a split 3-game series, kind of similar to the way they used to do Bedlam. So
Yeah.
Then softball, they split their 4-game set. They split with Lincoln and also split with Central Missouri over the weekend. That was here at the Lady Red softball field right across from Dan Deloach Field, the home of the soccer team. They will get those scores here momentarily as they defeated Lincoln 1-0 in the first one, then lost 7-6 in nine innings to the Blue Tigers. Then against the Jennies, they lost 5-0 in game 1, and then defeated them 7-6 in the nightcap. And it was a Tahlequah girl, Emily Sampson, hits a grand slam in that one to give the Lady Reds a split of that 2 games against Central Missouri. And so they're 7-24 right now. They were supposed to have played OBU, but that one is postponed. They'll play that one next week. And then now they got to get on the bus and they got to head to St. Joe to take on Missouri Western, and then go to Maryville on Saturday and play a doubleheader against Northwest Missouri. Then play Newman in Wichita and then UCO next week before coming back and playing a doubleheader on the 16th against OBU. That's the games that were postponed today, mainly because we had over an inch of rain last night.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, in fact, 1.2 inches of rain, and it dropped. We hadn't even hit 50 today. A cold front came through as well. So that kind of put a damper on everything.
You guys must have got that little storm we had a few days ago. It was raining and snowing here, but it should be getting warmer because we had a great, beautiful day today of about 52 degrees. So.
Yep, and in fact, we had warm weather until then, and severe weather. In fact, they had a few spinners last night. The National Weather Service having to go out and survey damage. I know, looking at some pictures that Mike Collier had from Channel 2, Barnsdall got hit with a tornado. Tornado went across 75 south of Bartlesville last night as they were chasing that sucker, and went on further east, but came rolling through here about midnight last night. So, but
glad everyone's safe back there.
Yep. Well, it's
talk about
start of severe weather season around here. So
let me tell you though, talking about tornadoes and softball, I want to talk just a second about Oklahoma softball sweep over Kansas and the game last Friday night, 17-0.
Yeah.
Total talk about Kansas getting caught in a storm called Oklahoma.
Yes.
In an Oklahoma storm, shall we say. Huge, but the Sooners had better have their game on this next weekend as they travel south to Austin, Texas, and take on the number 4 or number 5, depending upon which poll you follow, Texas Longhorns.
And they will not be happy after getting beat 2 out of 3 in Stillwater.
No, not at all. And here's some good news for Oklahoma fans out there. Kinsey Hansen, the catcher, should be back behind the plate come this weekend.
Mm-hmm. So I think those games, ESPN will be doing those games, and I know our games that I'm doing over in Arkansas, SEC Network is doing them.
Yeah, ESPN on Friday night, ESPN, the main network, on Saturday, and Sunday is the Longhorn Network.
Okay. So I only get to see one. That'll be Saturday because I won't see the game on Friday because the Arkansas game's at 5 o'clock over in Fayetteville. And then it'll be a digital game on Saturday on SEC Network Plus or ESPN Plus. That game's at 12 noon, and then game is at 2 o'clock on Sunday from Bogle Park there in Fayetteville. And it's going to be interesting, with Arkansas taking 2 of 3 from Georgia. That's saying something. That's the
it is
highest ranked team in the history of Arkansas baseball that they've taken a series from. That's the second time that's happened, that they've beaten the number 3 team in the country, and for it to be down there in a hitter-friendly ballpark down there in Athens, that is saying something for Courtney Deifel's ball club, and we'll see what they do against Mizzou this weekend. And I'll be kind of interested to see what happens. Well, I think we've pretty much gotten most everything covered. Major League Baseball is officially started. The Yankees won their first 5. They beat the Astros 4 straight. The Rangers won 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, also known as the Flubs, the Scrubs, whatever you want to call them. You don't like the Cubbies, and you're a Cardinal fan, just go ahead and call them whatever you want to call them. Let me look back. St. Louis is on the coast. They won 6-2 last night in San Diego, and Ryan Helsley pitched an inning, closed out the 9th, gave up a hit, did not give up a run, but because it was a 4-run lead, he did not qualify for a save. So he brought his ERA down from 27 to 9 with a scoreless inning. He got rocked by Mookie Betts' 2-run homer by the Dodgers opening night out there in LA. So that's the reason why the ERA was so high. But he did just allow 1 hit in 1 inning of work last night against the Padres, and hopefully might be available again tonight, as they are playing tonight and tomorrow night, then head for St. Louis and home opener coming up against the Miami Marlins. So if you can get the Cardinals on DirecTV or somewhere, or MLB Network. Problem is, around here, Cardinals get blacked out. We can watch the Rangers, but as far as the Royals, the Cardinals, and the Astros, we get blacked out. We don't get to see them, but you can listen to them. Of course, the Cardinals on 1120 KMOX, and John Rooney is now the voice of the Cardinals, former broadcaster with the Chicago White Sox, was broadcasting with them when they won a world championship, and is now took over for the late Mike Shannon, who passed away last year. So, but like I say, Major League Baseball in earnest, and getting to the meat and potatoes of college baseball and college softball as the month of April comes rolling around. Well, come next week, we'll talk about who the national champions are in basketball.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting.
It is.
To watch the games, the men's games. I'm not sure if it's CBS or TBS who will
not sure
do the championship games on Saturday and Monday. I do know the broadcast team will be Ian Eagle for the first time doing the play-by-play of the national championship game. Clark Kellogg, along with Bill Raftery, will be doing the color analyst jobs, and Ernie Johnson is handling the studio work because Greg Gumbel is not able to this year because of some health issues with the family. He has stepped aside, and Ernie is doing the studio stuff with Barkley and Kenny Smith. So it's been pretty good. They've done a real good job doing the Final Four stuff and leading up to the Final Four. And then ESPN will have the women's games on Sunday night and also on Tuesday. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Cover 4 podcast. And like I say, next week we'll talk about the two teams that cut down the nets in Glendale and in Cleveland. For my partner out in Provo, Utah, Randy Gibson, I'm Jim Trickett. So long, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Cover 4 podcast.